ready for the high five, where we're going to talk about what might have been if Square didn't ever exist. We're going to talk about, we're going to play a little game called Stump the Link because, well, that's just fun. We're going to talk about how it happens when we don't put our best foot forward and how do we rebound. We're going to mention and spotlight a few really good nonprofits. Plus, we're going to answer the questions about Merchant Services 101. What's an ISV? What's a POS? Alphabet soup? What is all this? This is time for another high five.
The time has come, the questions are said, opinions hide, discussions are led, a show about nothing and everything, it's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered. Yeah. The high five.
That's right. It's time for the high five. I'm Nate Manahan in the basement here in Indianapolis, Indiana, where it's a little bit warm, a little bit sunny, and a little bit rainy all at the same time. I don't know how we do it, but somehow it all works. Joining me in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, on the right side of the screen today, the man, the myth, the legend, the king of all elk, the king of the golf course, and of course, the best looking man in his office, Danny Shard. How are you, Danny?
The office. I'm happy to qualify for that.
Way to save yourself, Nate.
All right, and on the left-hand side, well, there's very few words that we can come through that fully describe the man who is coming from Warsaw, Indiana. He is often referred to as the Wolf. He takes care of problems and makes sure that you laugh every day. It is Mr. Brian Linke. How are you, Brian?
I'm well, Nate. I'm just living the quarantine dream.
It is the quarantine dream for sure. We are going through all kinds of stuff. I mean, look at the world. It just keeps getting better every day because it got all the way to rock bottom and we're going back up. We got nowhere up to go. It's got a great way to be around. So we're going to talk about number one this morning. What might have been. Ooh, I'm going to hit that again. You guys didn't hear it, but I'm going to hit. Oh, what might have been. Today's what might have been question comes from Danny Shard. What might have been if Square, one of the great, largest U.S.-based payments companies, didn't exist, didn't start back in 2008 by Jack Dorsey, the former co-founder of Twitter and currently the CEO of Twitter and of Square. Look at that. Wow, well, lazy are all the rest of us. But what might have been? So let's start. Danny, this was your question, your recommendation, and I love the question, but that means I'm going to make you go first.
I appreciate that, and I'm anxious to hear what you say, Nate, because I know you keep your hand on the pulse of those two companies a lot more than most out there. So I think yesterday I was intrigued by your what might have been, and I think it was about Tom Brady, right, going to the Patriots. Like, what if he went to the Browns or something? And I thought of in our industry what would have happened if Square wouldn't have came in. And I actually think in a lot of ways Square was a great thing for our industry. It shook us up significantly, and I remember when it happened. You'll have to correct me on the year, but I think it was like 2009, 2010, 2011, something like that. Am I kind of in the right ballpark?
You're right. It was when that people started knowing more about it. They were founded in 2008, kind of the peer-to-peer, and then they came into the main market, starting to actually infringe on the payments industry.
Yeah, and I mean, they jumped head first into attacking the SMB market, which is our bread and butter, right? And of course, all of the ISOs really in our space, really were put on our heels and kind of trying to figure out how we catch up, how we really compete. And we quickly found out, I'd say within about 12 to 24 months that although they were competing with us, at the time they hadn't come up with the technology, and we were still going after quite different accounts in a lot of ways. Their initial launch was just mobile and catered to really small merchants, right? And they lost a lot of money with their pricing structure. But what Square did, I think, for all of us is made all of our companies think smarter, right? And they really helped progress the industry at a much faster pace than I think it was going. So Square is actually the driver, I think, of what we're seeing today with all the technology and, simple pricing structures and things like that, just trying to simplify things. And we got to thank Square for some of that, right? I mean, they made us, get our head on straight, compete a lot harder, think differently. So I think it was a good thing, although they took a lot of our business, and we've been able to get a lot of that back too.
Well, Square, when they first started out, everybody thought there was a different play than their long-term play. And They were really thinking of themselves as a payments company, but all of us thought they were thinking of themselves as a tech company that was coming into a new world and just trying to do peer-to-peer payments, maybe more like what PayPal was early on. And we didn't really know what that really was. And so, one of the things I'm interested, Danny, when you first heard of it, what did you think of? You were in payments at that day. For me, it was actually, I was introduced to the idea of how there was a transaction fee. And I remember first using it. And I think I've told the story many times. I paid for a friend who had written a book, self-published a book. We go to this book launch and he has this little square dongle and he's swiping cards to take the $13 or whatever it was for the book. And it was all self-published, self-making. And I said, what's that going to how are you going to get that money? He said, it'll be in my bank account in the next couple of days. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But do you remember when you were first introduced to Square?
I do. And really at the time, mobile payments were really starting to take off. I was working for our sister company, Total Merchant Services at the time, and we partnered with a company called RoamPay to have our mobile reader. But it was still same pricing structures. In fact, the merchants had to buy the mobile readers. I think it was 20 or 30 bucks. And then whenever Square came in, partners were shook, right? I'm losing this business to Square, right? And it's, I think what really was hurting was not necessarily the tech at the time, obviously, because we really had solutions to compete against mobile. It was the simplified pricing, the ease, right? Just like you said with your friend, like just how easy it was for them to download the app, very user friendly, and just get in and start taking payments. That really kind of shook people up, and it scared a lot of people for quite a while there, because digging into their books, right? And where we kind of, were able to progress beyond that was, Square doesn't have partnerships, and that people factor was taken out of it. So although their product was really good, that's a missing piece that a lot of merchants still wanted.
Let me ask you, can you do are they giving small business loans now through Square?
Absolutely. Yeah, Square Capital is one of their biggest funding pieces.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things you have to make sure if you're in our industry that you're connected to someone who's giving capital, like our great partner, Cash Buoy, which we have with Sean and bring him on. So Brian, do you remember?
I kind of put that on a T for you. So
there you go. Brian, do you remember the first time you were introduced to Square? Were you at PayProTech or was it before that?
No, I you know what? I was at PayProTech, and I think the first time that I was introduced to it, and I didn't even know what it was at the time, but the guy who cuts my hair, he was using Square, and I was actually trying to pitch him at the time, and it ended up being where it just wasn't worth. He just wasn't processing enough for me, but that was probably the first time. So for me, it was like Danny just said, small business, flat rate, a 10-cent transaction fee, and again, I think what it's done for the industry, from what I've learned, it's just made us all think more, and the really smart people have just kind of just used that as a springboard to what we're doing now, and we continue to evolve.
Well, and they forced us to realize that they were going after a market share. They're taking a mentality that goes out in Silicon Valley that we're just going to get as many customers as possible and not worry to begin a while about revenue, which is not something any of us do in the payments industry because we don't want to lose money, because we're talking in the micro and they were thinking in the macro. And now we're realizing they had a different play. Did they have to change their pricing this year? Yes, they did. But they had gained 600,000 merchants into that play. And it was a different place from their going startup into publicly traded company. Now they're a much more mature ecosystem. Danny, when you hear our partners talk about it, what do you hear about from them other than the frustration that they hate hearing, I don't want to change, I love my Square?
What am I hearing from them, you mean? Or
right. What are you hearing from our partners about Square? What are their response?
Not as much anymore, really. Obviously Square is very prevalent and their technology, continues to get better, just like everything that a lot of us are offering, a lot of ISOs in our space, right? All of our technology keeps getting better. So what's recently happened, like you just said, with Square changing their pricing, is it's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit more. There for whatever that was, 10 years, close to, they were just massively kicking everybody's butt in the SMB space. Now, like you said, they weren't concerned about money, so they built that 500,000 merchants without any acquisitions, right? I mean, they built that complete from zero, and they weren't really concerned about that residual revenue, right? They were just gaining market share. It's gotten to a point, and I think you'll know, Nate, when they became profitable on the processing side, it wasn't too long ago, right? It was quite a ways out from when they had started. And now they are seeing a lot of changes in the space, and they're adjusting their pricing structures, adding transaction fees, which is bringing them down. And now we're back to a level playing field again. So I think the Square factor is kind of gone for the most part. We all still have to keep working hard and making sure we provide all these services to merchants, but we're able to compete head to head with them, where before they were way ahead. So I just don't hear about it as much as I used to.
Well, the other thing too is, paper tech, obviously Square had a niche in the market, but the thing about paper tech that we do here, the niche that we've carved into the industry is and I'm the relationship guy, right? And we've got relationship, we've got Jen Sales and Pamela Bailey and Jason Lee Cook and Jenny Reichel, and we've got the coach Mike Stetzel, and we've got relationship people. So our niche in the industry has become that hands-on, touchy-feely kind of thing, to where we're helping people. Whereas, like Danny said, with Square, it's you're not talking to anybody really. You're just now. Granted, the product at the time was great, but they've like Danny just said, it's leveled off, and again with us, it's just more of a hands-on thing, and that we're using that to our advantage.
Well, and Square certainly has pushed us to things that we wouldn't have done, as you mentioned, Danny, or at least not done as quickly, because they were looking to evolve and change faster than what had been happening in the payments industry. And I think they've sped on. You take things like Stripe, you take things like Braintree, now things coming from Europe and Asia who are in factor. So to take Adyen, who's coming into the market. It's a much robust market and marketplace than it was before Square started. And I think a lot of that was because Jack Dorsey, coming from Twitter, now co-CEO or CEO, what do you call it? It's not CEO of both, because he doesn't have his co anywhere. Right. But he comes from there and shines the light on this industry, and all these other industries are like, oh, I can make some money. I don't think Toast would exist if Square didn't exist, at least in the short term. They sped and made people making this play a lot faster as they mixed the software, the hardware, and the unique customer experience, which is sometimes negative, but sometimes positive, because their sales approach was not a person calling on you. It was, we're going to make it so aware that Square exists that you're going to come to us, which is an attraction. It's the inbound marketing. If you're in the marketing game, it was a different game than any of us had been using in the payment space. And now we're playing catch up, but I believe now we're on an even playing field. And our advantage, like you said, Brian, is that we can offer a customer support that they aren't built for the next year to offer. In fact, when they're having to do cuts, they're cutting their customer service, and we're trying to keep our people, our relationship managers, as solid as can be. And at PayProtect, they're all in place, taking care of the partners who are taking care of the merchants, which is a totally different customer service experience than you have with Square. Can you talk a little bit about how that set us apart, Danny, before we move on to the next topic? When Square's customer service was good luck trying to get a hold of us, didn't even have a call center for the first 5 years. They do now have one. They do have a phone number you can get a hold of, but they were like, we're just going to get as many payment people, as many merchants as possible, and just try to make it work.
Yeah, and I mean, and their support is still lacking. I mean, obviously they've got more solutions now with their POS and a few other things. Obviously, they've got a lot of additional features, like you said, Square Capital. I think they've got a payroll, and they've got a lot of different things that merchants can add on, which cost extra money. So they had to, obviously, with those add-ons, they had to get some support in to back it up. But they're still very much lacking in the support and the risk factor as well, right? I mean, obviously, fraud is rampant in the payment industry. And Square is definitely in the middle of that too, with the types of businesses and the amount of business that they have. Merchants are put into a very difficult position with anything regarding Square that might hit their risk flags, because again, they don't have a support team to reach out to, a partner to reach out to that they know that can really help them get through a challenging transaction or something like that. I mean, basically Square is well known for shutting down merchants or holding funds for up to 180 days, no questions asked. And you really can't get a live person to help you through the situation. So they're trying to get almost onto our playing field at that point, and really trying to compete with us and the way we've structured our support. And they're going to have a really hard time doing that.
I think this is a great conversation. We'd love to have more. If you're interested in talking more about payments, certainly join our My PayProtect group, where we're talking about payments. We're talking about Square and competitors all the time. You can email us anytime at partners@PayProtect. We'll talk more about that. But now it is time for our next number 2, Stump the Link. And we're going to go back to something we did a little over a week ago, where we did a little Trivial Pursuit. I can't get that focus, but it's simply sports edition. We're going to try to stump Brian Linke with a couple of questions. Brian Linke is all ready. Brian, are you ready to play Stump the Link?
Well, Nate, I am more than ready. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. These are going to be random questions that I pull out of this Trivial Pursuit box from the late 80s probably. So all these questions are, we're going to have some fun here. All right. The number 1, what Green Bay Packers coach was dubbed JR by players because of his coldness?
I remember this question from last time.
That was last week. I need a pull from the other end.
Yeah, new question, right? Nobody knows that guy.
Need a new one.
All right, let's see. Hold on. Again, it's random. I'm doing it here. All right. What baseball diamond feature used to be referred to as the pay station? I have no idea what that is. Ooh.
Next.
It's home plate. What's the term for a quarterback's change of play? A called over center.
An audible.
Oh, that's an easy one. What NBA team plays home games? Oh, this is at the date. I have no idea what year these are. At Hemisphere Arena. I know.
What's
Hemisphere
the
Arena.
NBA?
This is from the 80s, and Hemisphere Arena now has been replaced by the Alamo Dome. I know that.
The San Antonio Spurs.
There you go. All right. What hard-changing star once noted, if you slid into bases first for 20 years, you'd be ugly too?
Ty Cobb.
Not Ty Cobb. You would see him being ugly often in Mandalay Bay if it was open, walking down signing. Pete Rose. There you go. All right, couple more. Let's see if I can get better questions here. What's the nickname of the University of Oregon football team? Simple.
The Ducks.
What was the first NFL team to display players' numbers on the side of their pants? It's America's team.
The Cowboys.
There you go. Who, upon his retirement in 1983, the year you turned 40, Brian Linke, was considered to be world's richest athlete? 1983. He was a tennis player, if you can believe that. 1983 retirement.
I'm going to say
What's the guy's name? Borg?
Borg. Danny Shard jumping in. Bjorn Borg. And lastly, a little fun. Who played alongside Walt Frazier in the backcourt of the 1973 NBA champion New York Knicks, the New York Knickerbockers?
Earl of Pearl Monroe.
Oh, I knew he'd know that.
I knew he would know that one.
I knew New York Knicks. There was no chance that we were not getting Brian Linke to know a New York Knicks question.
I can name the starting five.
And
okay. Willis Reed, Dave DeBuscher, Bill Bradley, Earl Monroe, Walt Frazier. And who else was on that team? Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson.
The Zen master who just, man, he came out looking pretty good this last week in the first 2 weeks of that, or first 2 episodes of The Last Dance. He looked pretty good compared to everyone else.
I watched it again last night.
It's so good. I've watched it too. Oh.
I had Walt Frazier's poster in my bedroom when I was a kid.
See, look at that. All right, that was playing Stump the Link. Now we're going to go to number 3 as we're in the high five here for Wednesday, April 22nd. And this is what, gentlemen, there are times where we're tired, something's going on, we're busy, and we're not as connected as we want to be with success. We don't put our best foot forward. Maybe we make a bad presentation. And so we have to catch up. We have to rebound. Maybe we go into a cold call and we don't get the words out the way we want to. We maybe just aren't all there. How do we rebound when we're out there? Because none of us hit bat 1,000, that's for sure. So when we're in that 300 where we're not batting, because we're all 700 plus, because we're that good. But when we have to rebound and we didn't put our best forward, what are some of the things you do to try to still have the opportunity to close that sale or to build that relationship? Brian Linke, you're first up.
Well, I mean, it's a great question. And again, this is a sports entertainment type show, and so again, everything to me, goes back to sports. So you're going to come out and I coach kids and in basketball, and I tell them all the time, there's going to be certain nights where you come out there and for whatever reason, the basketball gods are just not allowing that ball to go in the basket. Okay. For whatever reason, you can shoot it and you can shoot it and you can shoot it and you continue to miss. What does that mean? Well, does that mean, okay, so we're going to play here in an hour. Are we just going to put our head in the sand and just give up on it? And the answer obviously is no. It's a new day, and I think the same thing has to do with sales. It's the kind of thing where you're not always going to be as sharp as you want to be, or as you normally are. So I think what you need to do is take a step back. Go do something else, get something to eat, take a walk, do whatever it is you need to do, and then get right back at it. Just like riding a horse, riding a bike. Riding a bike.
Riding a horse.
I've never been on a horse. Sure.
Because Brian Linke is a major horse rider, the equestrian Brian Linke. I'm 100%
never ridden
sure.
a horse in his life.
Well, no, but I'm watching Peaky Blinders. There's a lot of horses in there, so that's why. But anyway, I just think you just get back up on it, but that's what makes sales so hard. It's a very lucrative industry. If you're selling and you're doing well, you're making a lot of money, no matter what it is you're doing, whether it's in payments or whatever you're doing. But it's also extremely difficult, and it's not for everybody. Cold calling obviously has changed over the years. So there, there are different ways of doing it via email and texting and I mean there's just other ways to do it rather than just going and knocking on people's doors. But again, it's just one of those things where sales is a tough gig, and you just have to get back up and continue to push on.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, in my opinion, too, it's the first thing is acknowledgement, right? And understanding and identifying that, okay, you missed this opportunity by doing this, right? If you could even. I think what all of us as sales professionals could really benefit from is having a peer or someone in your industry as well listening to you sell, right? Because that's actually a little bit more pressure too. And you know, you can ask for feedback, and really being humble and open to some of that feedback is massive to help you kind of keep progressing. But like Brian said, I mean, it's literally got to keep shooting, right? And understand that you're never going to bat 1,000, right, Nate? And you've just gotta keep going after them. And but first and foremost, acknowledging where you're doing and grow from it, get feedback, keep educating yourself, and keep shooting.
And then I'll just give Paperwork like a little bit of a plug too. And my team, you know, we've got people here, you know, Mike Stetzel is the first one that comes to mind, that he will be more than happy to listen to what you have to say. So, you know, if in fact you go out there and you just, you know, you just blow one and you just feel you need to talk to somebody, you can dial Mike. He'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you. You can call me, you can call, you know, Jen Sales, you can call Pamela Bailey, you can call Jenny Reichel, you can call Jason Lee Cook, you can call Danny Shard and talk to us and we'll listen. And you know, again, it's just one of those things where you just have to get back up on it, and especially during this time. It's extremely difficult, right? Because a lot of businesses are closed, so it's hard to get a hold of people, and you know it's easy to get yourself down. So, but we're here to help.
I think for me, you think about it. For me, it's like baseball. When a hitter goes through those streaks, we all go through those streaks where it's just the ball doesn't look as big. We don't see it coming out of the hand of the pitcher. We don't read the customer the way we used to, or something goes through. And when we go 0 for 20, the time has come to do something different. You got to change it up. You got to change the approach. Go talk to someone. Go get an extra piece of training. Don't just go feel sorry for yourself. Don't throw a sympathy party for yourself, party of one, but go after it. Go try to do something else. So the batter may go work with the batting coach and go down into the clubhouse and hit off the tee, and may change when they walk up of how many times they touch the wrist in their hand and how many times they put the bat on the plate, and they change the ritual and how they're doing it. And when you have something go wrong, it's all about the resiliency. See, I don't know that I was hearing Tim Ferriss, if you guys ever heard of him, 5 Hour Work Week, and I was listening to a podcast this morning. I know I always bring up a podcast with him. And one of the things he said was he doesn't think it's so much how we rebound in this economy and what the United States is represented. It's really about how resilient we are and how we're really brought to be overcome. And we get back up on the horse, as Brian says, and I've been on a horse all of 2 times in my life, I think. But I did spend a summer in New Mexico where I had my own personal horse that I took care of for 3 weeks back when I was a senior in high school.
I watched the Kentucky Derby. Does that count?
Oh, absolutely. That counts. Yes, that absolutely counts. But so I think to all of this, one of the things I was thinking is, what are the things you guys do when, you know, we all know we get in that rut, things aren't going as smoothly. How do we shake things up? How do we take a change, put a jolt into our rhythm and make sure, okay, I need to add some skills, I need to add some training, I need to get some rest? What are the things you do to kind of say, okay, take a step back, I'm going to get ready, I'm not giving up, I'm getting back on that horse? What are the things you do to get back up on that horse?
You know, the simple answer for me is it never bothers me that much, you know, because I've been in sales my entire life, and you know, I tend to take things personally at times, but you know, you wake up the next day, it's a new day, and it's time to get back at it and sell something. You know, like Danny and I talked a little bit this morning. You know, last week was a tough one for me. Had some merchants cancel, had some things go wrong, but it's, you know, it's a new week. The first couple of days have been okay, and you know, we just keep plugging along. And if it gets too bad, just take a step back, and you know, tomorrow's a new day. And you just gotta keep doing it. And again, you know, sales is not for everybody. It's a tough gig. You know, hitting a baseball, you know, it's like, you know, 3 for 10. You're hitting 300. You're in the top 10 in hitting in Major League Baseball. So it's you know, again, it's just one of those things that you just have to keep doing it.
All right, I'm going to jump in here and answer for Brian Linke. This is how he deals with it. He actually calls up Danny Shard and starts saying, that is how he deals with it. Am I correct, Danny Shard?
You are absolutely correct. Yeah, just let it out. Sometimes scream, shout, curse if you have to. All of the above. That works for a lot of people. I agree with what he said. I mean, you kind of take a step back, but really just kind of keep it light, right? I mean, you got to stay focused on the things that you can control, and the things that you can't, you kind of let them go where they lay, and stay in control of yourself and of your universe. And but yeah, scream, shout, get out there, get it out, and then get right back at it.
And that's the thing. What I love about the team that we work with is that no matter what we're doing, we're always there for the partners, the teammates. And when we need those moments to vent, or we need that inspiration, or we need that speech to say, let's get off the floor, let's get off the ground, get off the field, get back up to the line, get back up to plate. We have a team that's ready to do that. And that's what you need in life. You got to surround yourself with people. They're going to help make sure when you go 0 for 3 and you're wanting to give up, and you go 20 sales calls and they're not working, that somebody's going to get in your ear and encourage you and challenge you, however that is. And that's what's great about being part of a team like PayProTech, making sure you choose who you do business with, because you don't want people always chirping into your ear and just negativity and, oh, how that might be. Oh, man, but you want to hear honest criticism that helps you improve, and you want to hear encouragement to, hey, this will get better if you just work. Get off the couch and you'll make it work. So on the next topic, because we're going to switch it up. We're going to do something interesting. I'm intrigued with these guys. We have not pre-talked about this. Number 4 is we're going to do a nonprofit spotlight. And we're going to talk specifically about one, and maybe they'll bring up more, but I asked them to bring up one nonprofit that they are encouraged by what they're doing or have done, and maybe even supported, and might be worthy of our looking at and encouraging and support. And because life is not just about what you get. In fact, it is not about that. It's about what you give. And ultimately, it's making sure that we're in a area of generosity. And I just am interested what these guys are saying. What is a nonprofit that you would encourage? Let's see. Danny, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. One that, my wife and I actually donate to a few. One local here is the Roaring Fork River Cleanup, and it's a really cool organization that obviously is just focused on clean rivers around where we're at here, and it means a lot to us because we live in a very beautiful area and we want to keep it that way. And our whole family is really involved in that. We also are really involved in the NG4C nonprofits that helps people and families in Haiti. So that means a lot to us. And Matt Hoskins is kind of the lifeline to that, right? He's just doing some great things, we feel, in Haiti, and all the things that they're going through there. So that means a lot to us. So yeah, I think donating and getting involved in nonprofits is a huge thing that everybody should do if they can.
I think it is. I mean, it's so important to and it's a wide range. It's caring for the underprivileged, the underserved in Haiti, and it's also making sure that our rivers are taken care of and taking care of nature. And I love those are two totally different nonprofits, but so both important, because man, I want to make sure every time I come visit Danny Shard that river looks exactly like it did as you drove me from Vail to your office, because my word, was that beautiful. All right, Brian Linke.
Well, first of all, we're most of us, if not all of us, on this call or watching or listening, are fortunate enough to be doing what we're doing. So, like Danny just said, I think we have a responsibility to give what we can give, and there's a few of them for me as well. And the first one. And again, this hits home, and a lot of people know this already about me, just because I posted something on Facebook a few years ago. But the Moffitt Cancer Research Center down in Tampa, Florida, is something that I give a lot of money to. My brother, when we were kids, had cancer. He was in the hospital for 2 years. When I was what was I was 10, he was 8. That was a tough one. And then his wife just here recently had cancer, beat it, rang the bell, did the whole thing. So the Moffitt Cancer Research Center down in Tampa, Florida is a big one for me and for my family. Another one, again, here in Warsaw, Indiana, is Baker Youth Center, where a lot it's an after-school program that does more than just kids just don't just go there to play kickball all the time. They have study sessions, homework sessions, and again it's near and dear to my heart. One of my best friends, Tracy Furnival, is the president of the Baker Youth Center, and it's something again that helps kids. And I'm all about it. Trying to think, unified sports program at Warsaw High School that is now an IHSAA regulated sport for kids, special needs kids. What it is, it's a combination of special needs kids and kids that aren't special needs. And they have a track team, and now they have a flag football team. Warsaw actually won the state championship. There are 2 banners in the Tiger Den right now hanging because they won the state championship in track. My son was on both teams during that time, and again, it's just a special thing for me, and it's something that I have no problem writing a check every single month for.
Well, and Brian, let's give credit to your better half, who's also been very involved in bringing that to frugality. Because I'd never heard of that before, and I think what an awesome thing to be able to have those unified sports and people working side by side and giving opportunities. People never would have had these opportunities before. It is really cool. I've loved watching that, and the pictures and the stories, and when you guys seeing some of the videos are just the most amazing thing. I just commend that a lot.
Shout out to Brenda Linke.
Yeah. Well, true. It absolutely. You started it, and it just blossomed into what it is today, and to be an IHSAA sport, which means it's regulated by the state of Indiana. So the trophy, the state championship trophy, is the same trophy that you get if you win the state championship in basketball or the state championship in football. It is on the same playing field as those things, which is an amazing thing. It really is. And if you've never had a chance to go in and watch a unified track meet or a unified flag football game, it's coming to your area. If you don't live here in Warsaw, but I guarantee if you look into it, it's coming to your area because it's growing by leaps and bounds. And never thought it would get to where our athletic director, I'll never forget when we hosted the regional here, he had no idea. All of a sudden this guy, his name is Bobby Cox, and he's the president of the IHSAA here in Indiana. And he shows up, and our athletic director was just floored by it. And I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, I told you. So yeah, it's an amazing thing, and I have no problem writing a check every single month for
it. I love all of those, and I'll just highlight a couple that I know I am so thankful for. One is Wheeler Mission, which is a local food pantry and shelter. They have a women's shelter and a men's shelter now. They're connected to it for the homeless population and helping those who are going through addictions and all kinds of ministries. And they're here in Indianapolis, right in the heart and downtown. And one of the things I've noticed that's happened during this pandemic, it was first started by Peyton Manning, who continues to have a huge presence here in Indianapolis. And he one day just bought he bought St. Elmo's Steakhouse meals for a bunch of people at the Peyton Manning Children's Hospital, the employees, staff, people that are fighting in ERs at some of the hospitals connected to that. And then people started challenging each other, and they're buying St. Elmo's food and sitting over, including there have been groups of people that are buying St. Elmo's. Well, Brian, you tell me, how good is St. Elmo's?
Okay, St. Elmo. Okay, here's the thing. I'd go there every single day if I could. It's one of the best steakhouses in the country. So it's and it's a lot of fun, and it's a lively crowd, and I love it. And I know
good shrimp cocktail there, right?
Yeah.
What's that? The shrimp cocktail. Yeah, the shrimp cocktail is world famous, and I know the founder of our company, if he's listening, he's got a smile on his face right now because he loves it too.
Yep. Well, and one of the things about what's happening is people are now donating. The men and women at Realer Mission and the connected ministries are all eating meals from St. Elmo's, which is awesome. So people are donating, paying for those meals. St. Elmo's is creating a delivery system and doing that. It's happening in the hospitals, and I love it when ministries do that. The other one I want to highlight is one that's really it's opened my eyes. It's been humbling, and is one called IJM. It's International Justice Mission, IJM.org, and they focus on helping free slaves. As they say, there are more slaves and indentured people than there have ever been at any time in the world. And wow. That's not just in the around the world in other countries. That's actually happening hidden in our country. They guesstimate somewhere hundreds of thousands of majority women, but men and women who are indentured, who are enslaved to people who are like being told what they can do, what they can't do every day. There's no liberty. And they go and work around the world, specifically in other countries, helping empower the justice system to actually bring to justice those who are enslaving people that are, whether it's sexual or work related, there's all kinds of things. They bring light to it. And if you go to IJM.org and you just scroll down and see some of the stories, every time I read those stories, they tell the stories of people who are freed out of this slavery, how they had to stand up for themselves, but then how the IJM is able to come alongside of them and come along the side of the people in that country and help free them from that. And man, that has opened my eyes, and something I read every day, because they post right now they're going through a hero's story and they're posting stories, and it's humbling. So there's a couple of the nonprofits. Now let's get into our number 5. It's always a hard transition. There's no good transition word to go for there. But number 5 today, it's a little alphabet soup. We love alphabet soup when it comes here in the payments industry. We've got PCI, we've got I don't even know, but 2 of them are ISV and POS, and they're connected a little bit, and it doesn't mean pizza. It is another thing. And ISV, well, let's find out a little. So let's start. Danny's our expert. He's our certified payments professional. Danny, what is an ISV and POS?
Well, first of all, just the amount of acronyms in our industry alone is astonishing, and I think we learn a new one every day, it seems like. So I think this is kind of a fun conversation. We even stumped Brian the other day with the PCI DSS.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a fun conversation, but okay, it's a conversation nonetheless.
Absolutely. All right, so POS, you've got point of sale, and that's actually been used in our industry since I've been in it for 17 years now. And, initially it's just the point of sale, like as in any solution that the merchant's using to take payments. Now with all the enhanced technology, you really hear of the POS being like our POS Pros team, right? The bigger systems, like the touch screens with kitchen printers and just more robust features. Those are the POS systems. And then you've got your basic terminals. But even before all these POS systems, terminals were considered a POS as well, for a few reasons, as well as the piece of beep that you had said before. What was the other one? ISV. ISV is actually, I'd like to get a good friend on here, Stacy Carrillo. He actually helped start the POS Pros division with us, and is now, he worked in the ISV channels for a long time, and ISV stands for Integrated Software Vendor. So that's really where there's so many different, Nate, you probably even have a ballpark number, but I'm going to say 10,000 POS systems out there, right? And software solutions out there for payment processing. And so we'd like to obviously be able to integrate with a lot of those vendors. So if we can do that, that'd be great, and get them onto our EX or EPX platform.
I thought it was independent software vendor.
I thought it was integrated.
It is actually both, and I was going to bring that up. We don't even know what it stands for, but and ISV is used different ways, but what it really means is no matter what you're doing on the internet, if you're going to take a payment or in software, you can do it so it's integrated instead of what I often call it the side saddle, where you run it up in a piece of software that's running your niche market, the Brian Linke's kombucha stand. And so they've created a software just for monitoring that kombucha stand. And instead of taking that software and having an extra piece of hardware and then typing in, yes, they paid, like you would have done back in the cash register days, you actually are able to take the payment integrated right into it. And so you actually take a piece of code and do it. And it's so important to realize that we're just trying to make life a lot more seamless. And there are lots of ways to make payments. And yes, you could just pull out your little pay anywhere and make a payment, or you could just take the payment right into the software. But it's still a fragmented market because there are so many software vendors. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of software that is connected in some way to payments and have a little niche. Some have 5 users and some have millions of users. What are the things that are struggles? What do you do when you come across a software that is taking a payment to figure out how do you take that payment through there? And is it integrated to stuff that PayProtect has in our world? That's what we're trying to ask.
I'll tell you what you do. You go on to poslead.com and you put in you type in your question. You wait for Robert Kramer to call you back.
That's one way to do it. The best way really is, since there's so many systems out there, if that system isn't directly offered and a part of the PayProtect NEB Holdings family, the best thing to do is reach out to your relationship manager here. We actually try to keep an internal list as we learn of all these systems each and every day. We try to keep an internal list just to refer back to when partners have certain opportunities. But there's a lot still that don't show up on that list. So if your relationship manager doesn't have information on it, the best thing to do from that point is reach out to the software vendor directly and identify and ask those specific questions. What platforms, or I should say what payment processing platforms and or what gateways they can integrate with for payment processing. And so it's about asking the right questions and obviously getting to the right people that know it. And you'll quickly find that there's a lot of systems out there that are universal and they can work with dozens of gateways and they're really not locked into anybody specifically. And that's even more prevalent today as more of these solutions keep coming out and they want to grab more market share, right? So they need to be able to go with more people or more companies, I should say. But then there's also a lot of systems that are proprietary to certain gateways or certain providers, right? One that comes to mind is Mercury. Mercury is a competing ISO in our space. They are well known for paying a lot of money to software vendors to buy up the rights to be the only one that can board that system. It's kind of gone away. I mean, they're not as prevalent as they once were because a lot of these systems are popping up now and it's a lot more competitive than it once was.
It is, and it's a more modular approach than it ever was. It's I'm going to add this, I'm going to add this, and
right.
Now, really, we talked a couple days ago about what is a gateway, and the gateway really is the key and the glue that ties all this together and makes it so it all works and becomes a lot less seamless. Because for a while, the customer experience was not great in the payment space. It's I'm going to ring this up over here, then I'm going to come over here and ring this up, print it, then I've got to go put it in this other machine. You're going to sign this paper, and now ease of use is becoming, and that's because the ISV channel and point of sale systems and all of that are starting to work together much better, not just with PayProtect, but across the ecosystem, making it easy. And I think there is one company that we'll talk about sometime about what might have been that really drove us all to actually get real about this and consider customer experience. Because once one person makes customer experience the creme de la creme and works so hard on it, it just makes life easier. And yes, calling Robert Kramer is the thing you need to do, especially if you call him about some really rare software that you've never heard of. Find the most rare one. He loves it when you do that because that just makes his life easier.
And not only Bob, but Tim McCaffrey and Matt Proctor. Those guys are really knowledgeable, and it's something that I remember when Matt Hoskins, when we put this the POS team in place down in Indianapolis, and I was like, okay, what are we doing? And it's proven to be something that's really helped our agents.
It has, and it just shows you need a team. You need let's go back. You need a village. For those who remember a certain politician of the days past, you need a village to be able to do this, and that is what PayProtect's all about. We're creating a village to build it around people, and no matter what industry, what business you're doing, make sure you surround yourself with the best people. You should be one connection away from always solving things. And if you have to go through 3, make that connection your art. Bring them one step closer. And that's what we want to do at PayProtect. That's why you reach out to POS Pros when you have those questions, or you email partners at PayProtect or talk to the relationship manager, and we will help fix it, because we have people in the back like the Wolf Brian Linky making things all work, even when we don't understand anything. Everything and nothing all at the same time seems like something we should do. All right. Any last remarks on closing on the ISV POS before we close our day here for April 22nd?
A lot of exciting things happening. We've got some really cool stuff that we're rolling out. You're going to see an announcement coming out later on improvements of Pay Anywhere. So we're prepping for the next phase and when it's going to open up, and we're really excited. So it's Hump Day. Stay positive, and things just keep getting better.
Absolutely. Brian Linky, any closing words?
I just want to give a shout out to somebody that we haven't mentioned on this show, but Tim Callahan yesterday, who's our deja vu technical everything guy, got on the phone with one of our merchants and talked the guy off the cliff and saved the account. So I just want to give a shout out to Tim and just tell him what a great job he's doing.
It's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
That is awesome. And we have a great team here. We're here every day around 10 o'clock live. We would love it if you would leave us a comment. I have loved the feedback. Last night, just after midnight, I went live with day 2, which actually turned day 2 and day 3 are going to be on the same calendar day, but that's how it works. But last night, I actually went and found live leads that I think is a great way to actually work through them in our My PayProtect live to find some restaurant leads, and actually sent out a video email. And I would encourage you, go watch it. It's a good 20 minutes of just really good content, in my opinion. And at least you get to sound the sultry sounds of my voice. But we're going to be here every day, every weekday, part of the High Five. We're committed to making great content, great encouragement, and giving you things that make you a better salesman, a better partner, and really, we want you to help. We want to help you succeed. We're coming alongside and making this all work. This has been another episode of the High Five. Let's close with our great music.
The questions are said.
High five, everybody. Everybody have a great Wednesday. We're here. We made it. Absolutely. We're here another day. How fun is that? We're going to make this week absolutely ours.
We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. Time for the High
The world is coming not to an end, but coming to a new opportunity.
It's time for the
How fun is this going to be? We love being together. Thank you guys very much. High five, everybody.